Before Paddy Pimblett, before Raul Rosas Jr., there was the original UFC Golden Boy, Sage Northcutt. The looks, the skills, and a $50,000 signing bonus at just 19 years old. He was supposed to be the future of mixed martial arts, the pretty face that would carry the UFC into the next generation. But in just 29 seconds, everything changed. What really happened to the kid who was supposed to save the UFC? And why has he vanished from the sport that made him famous? This is the Sage Northcutt, a tale of hype, heartbreak, and unfinished business that will make you question everything you think you know about building a superstar. Katy, Texas isn't known for producing world champions, but that's where our story begins. Mark Northcutt was a bodybuilder and martial artist who had a vision to create the perfect fighting machine, and that machine would be his son. From the age of 4, Sage Northcutt was training harder than most adults. This wasn't just another Karate Kid story. Mark quit his job to manage Sage's career full-time, turning their family into a fighting dynasty. By 15, Sage had won 77 tournaments and claimed 11 world karate titles. He wasn't just winning, he was dominating with a smile that could light up any arena. The charisma was natural, the talent was undeniable, and the hunger was real. At 18, Sage made the jump to amateur MMA and went 5-1 before turning professional in 2014. In his first 4 professional fights, he scored 4 finishes in 4 months. Every opponent fell, and every performance was more spectacular than the last. But Mark Northcutt had bigger plans than regional shows in Texas. He was about to make a phone call that would change everything. Dana White's Looking for a Fight was supposed to showcase regional talent, but when Sage Northcutt threw a spinning wheel kick that went viral overnight, everything changed. Dana's reaction was immediate. Sign this kid now. At 19, Sage became one of the youngest fighters ever signed to the UFC, with a $50,000 signing bonus that made headlines across the MMA world. His debut was nothing short of spectacular. A 57-second TKO over Francisco Trevino that had the entire arena on their feet. 2 months later, he submitted Cody Pfister with a guillotine choke in the second round, maintaining his perfect 100% finish rate. The UFC marketing machine went into overdrive. Sage wasn't just a fighter anymore. He was a brand. His Instagram followers climbed from thousands to hundreds of thousands overnight. He was getting main card spots, television interviews, and endorsement deals that veteran fighters could only dream of. Dana White was calling him the future, and for a brief moment it seemed like that future was inevitable. But champions aren't made when everything goes right. They're made when the lights are brightest and the pressure is crushing. And that's when the cracks started to show. Bryan Barberena wasn't supposed to be a problem. He was supposed to be another stepping stone on Sage's path to greatness. But 29-year-old Barberena had been in wars, and he brought something Sage had never faced: desperation mixed with experience. When Barberena locked in the arm triangle choke, Sage tapped for the first time in his professional career. The media narrative shifted overnight. Overhyped pretty boy became the new headline. Can't grapple became the whispered criticism. Social media, which had once celebrated every spinning kick, now questioned every move. After 6 months of doubt and criticism, Sage bounced back with a win over Cody Pfister, but the questions remained. Then came Mickey Gall, another young prospect hungry to make his name. When Gall secured the rear naked choke in the second round, Sage's record dropped to 8-2. 2 submission losses in his biggest fights. The Golden Boy was looking human, and the UFC's investment was looking questionable. But just when everyone started counting him out, Sage did something that reminded the world why Dana White had signed him in the first place. Sometimes the biggest risk is playing it safe, and that's exactly what Sage refused to do. He went back to the drawing board, improved his ground game, and won 3 straight fights in the UFC. His grappling defense looked better, his confidence was returning, and at 23, he was still young enough to fulfill his potential. Then came the contract negotiations. The UFC offered a modest deal, the kind of contract that keeps you hungry but doesn't make you rich. One championship offered millions. The Singapore-based promotion was making big moves, signing champions like Demetrius Johnson and Eddie Alvarez. They wanted Sage as the face of their expansion into the American market. It was a fresh start, a global audience, and financial security for life. Sage took the gamble and signed with one championship, believing he was was walking into his destiny. Instead, he was walking into a nightmare that would nearly end his career and change his face forever. May 2019, Singapore. One championship had promoted Sage's debut like he was already their biggest star. His opponent was Cosmo Alexandre, a Brazilian Muay Thai legend with over 70 professional fights. Alexandre was 37 years old, battle-tested, and carrying the kind of experience that comes from decades in combat sports. The fight lasted 29 seconds. Alexandre landed a perfectly timed right hand that dropped Sage like he'd been shot. The knockout was so brutal, so sudden, that the arena fell silent. Sage wasn't just unconscious, he was broken. 8 facial fractures, 9 hours of surgery, titanium plates permanently installed in his face. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. For weeks, Sage couldn't eat solid food. He couldn't even smile properly. The Golden Boy's face had been rebuilt with metal, but the real damage went deeper than bone and cartilage. This wasn't just a loss, it was a destruction of everything Sage thought he knew about himself. The kid who had never faced real adversity was now staring at the end of his career at just 23 years old. The question wasn't whether he could fight again. The question was whether he would want to. For 4 years, Sage Northcutt became a ghost. No fights, limited public appearances. Behind the scenes, the real battle was happening. Family support became everything as Sage struggled with both physical rehabilitation and mental health challenges that he'd never experienced before. The boy who had always been told he was special now had to rebuild not just his face, but his identity. Training videos started appearing sporadically, different energy, more serious, less naive. The smile was still there, but it carried weight now. Then came the announcement that shocked the MMA world. Sage Northcutt was coming back. His opponent would be Ahmed Mujtaba, a veteran submission specialist. Everyone wondered if Sage still had it, or if the layoff and trauma had broken him permanently. The answer came 40 seconds into the first round when Sage secured a heel hook submission so fast and so technical that it left the entire arena stunned. The boy who couldn't grapple had just submitted a veteran grappler with the kind of technique that takes years to master. The emotional celebration told the whole story. Tears, family embraces, and vindication. Super Sage was back, better than ever, with a new maturity that made him more dangerous than he'd ever been. The fairy tale was alive again. But in MMA, fairy tales don't last long. Success can be more dangerous than failure. And Sage's comeback had put him back on the map in all the wrong ways. One championship booked him against Shinya Aoki, the Japanese submission legend who had tapped out some of the greatest grapplers in MMA history. It was a dream fight, the improved grappler versus the submission specialist. The promotion was massive, the stakes were high, and everything was set for Sage's triumphant return to the spotlight. Then, hours before the fight, everything fell apart. Sage withdrew from the bout, sending shockwaves through the MMA community. Initial speculation was brutal. PEDs, weight-cutting problems, fear of fighting Aoki. The truth was more complicated and more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. Sage had brought 3 coaches to support him, something that had been approved months in advance. Hours before the fight, one championship officials informed him that only 1 coach would be allowed in his corner. The other 2 were being deported for visa violations, and Sage was threatened with prison time if he didn't comply. Face an impossible situation. Fight the biggest fight of his comeback completely alone, or pull out in protest and face public humiliation. He chose to pull out, releasing an emotional video explaining the situation, but the damage was done. The MMA community had already made up its mind, and just like that, Super Sage disappeared again. This time, it might be forever. What do you do when the thing you love betrays you? Sage Northcutt's social media tells a story of a man trying to figure that out. No training posts, no fight announcements, just lifestyle content, endorsement deals, and the occasional throwback to better times. He's 28 years old, technically in his prime, but the fire seems to have gone out. Recent rumors have connected him to the PFL, but nothing concrete has materialized. The cost of his journey, physical, mental, and financial, may have finally caught up with the kid who once seemed invincible. The question isn't just whether he'll fight again, it's whether he can find peace with walking away from the sport that made him famous, but also broke his heart. Every superhero needs an ending, but Sage Northcutt's story is still being written. He was supposed to be the UFC's first teenage superstar. Instead, he became something more important. A reminder that behind every highlight reel is a human being, His story is one of hype and heartbreak, of dreams deferred and spirits tested. It's about what happens when we build our heroes too high and too fast, and what it costs them when they fall. Sage Northcutt represented hope, youth, and the American dream in MMA. What he became was a cautionary tale about pressure, expectations, and the price of fame. His face was rebuilt with titanium, but his spirit might be the strongest thing about him. He's only 28 years old, the same age when Anderson Silva was just entering his prime, when Daniel Cormier was starting his legendary run. If Sage Northcutt fights again, it won't just be for money or glory. It will be for redemption, and maybe, just maybe, that's the most dangerous version of Super Sage we've never seen.